What if I told you that some of Hollywood's most famous actors were actually extremely overqualified for the entertainment industry? These weren't just smart people. We're talking about minds that shaped modern technology, military strategy, and science, while casually winning Academy Awards on the side. I've uncovered evidence from patent offices, military archives, and university records that prove these 10 stars had intellectual achievements that rival Nobel Prize winners. This video reveals which glamorous actress holds patents for technology in your smartphone right now, which charming leading man could have been a professor at Princeton, and which villain was too intelligent for Hollywood, according to himself. Number 10. George Sanders. George Sanders had that perfect villain voice that made your skin crawl in movies like Rebecca and All About Eve. But behind that sinister on-screen persona was a man with an incredibly sharp mind. Sanders spoke 6 languages fluently and could switch between them mid-conversation without missing a beat. He was born in Russia, raised in England, and somehow picked up French, German, Italian, Spanish, Russian, and English along the way. What made Sanders really stand out wasn't just the languages, though. He was a gifted writer who published several books, including his autobiography, where he basically roasted everyone he'd ever worked with. The guy had zero filter and the intelligence to back up his brutal honesty. He once said that acting was beneath his intellectual capabilities, which sounds arrogant until you realize he probably wasn't wrong. Sanders also had a photographic memory for scripts. Directors would be amazed that he could memorize entire scenes after reading them just once. While other actors were struggling with their lines, Sanders would be sitting in his trailer reading philosophy books or working on his latest novel. Number 9. Joseph Cotten. Joseph Cotten might be best remembered for Citizen Kane and The Third Man, but this guy was way more than just Orson Welles' favorite actor. Cotten graduated from the University of Virginia with a degree in English literature, and his intelligence showed in every role he played. He had this amazing ability to understand complex characters and bring depth to even the simplest parts. What really set Cotten apart was his business sense. While most actors were just happy to get paid, Cotten was studying the film industry like it was a chess game. He understood contracts, production costs, and market trends better than most studio executives. This intelligence helped him maintain his career for decades, when other stars faded away. Cotten was also a brilliant conversationalist who could discuss everything from classical music to modern politics. His co-stars often mentioned how much they learned just by talking to him between scenes. He had this rare combination of book smarts and street smarts that made him successful both on and off the screen. Number 8. Veronica Lake. Everyone remembers Veronica Lake for her peekaboo hairstyle and those film noir classics, but most people have no idea how smart she actually was. Lake had an IQ that was reportedly well above average, and she used that intelligence to navigate one of the trickiest periods in Hollywood history. What made Lake special was her understanding of image and marketing long before those became buzzwords. She knew exactly how to position herself in the industry and created a persona that was both mysterious and accessible. This wasn't luck. It was calculated intelligence applied to her career. Lake was also surprisingly well-read. She could discuss literature, politics, and current events with the best of them. Her problem wasn't lack of intelligence. It was that she was too smart for her own good sometimes. She saw through the Hollywood BS and wasn't afraid to call it out, which didn't always make her popular with studio bosses. Number 7. Cary Grant. Cary Grant is often called the most charming man who ever lived, but charm without brains doesn't last 4 decades in Hollywood. Grant was incredibly intelligent, and he used that intelligence to reinvent himself completely. Born Archibald Leach in working-class England, he studied every aspect of American culture and transformed himself into the perfect American gentleman. What really shows Grant's intelligence is how he handled his business affairs. At a time when most actors just signed whatever contract was put in front of them, Grant negotiated deals that gave him unprecedented control over his career. He was one of the first actors to demand a percentage of profits instead of just a salary, which made him incredibly wealthy. healthy. Grant also had an amazing memory for detail. He could remember conversations from years ago, specific camera angles that worked well, and exactly which lighting made him look best. He approached acting like a science, constantly analyzing and improving his craft. Directors loved working with him because he understood filmmaking from every angle, not just acting. Number 6. Barbara Stanwyck. Barbara Stanwyck never finished high school, but don't let that fool you. She was one of the smartest people in Hollywood. Stanwyck had natural intelligence that couldn't be taught in any classroom. She understood human psychology better than most trained professionals and used that knowledge to create some of the most memorable characters in film history. What made Stanwyck incredibly smart was her ability to read scripts and immediately understand what was wrong with them. She could suggest changes that would improve both her character and the overall story. Writers and directors often said she understood their vision better than they did themselves. Stanwyck also had incredible business instincts. She invested her money wisely and built a financial empire that lasted her entire life. While other stars were going broke, Stanwyck was buying real estate and making smart investments. She understood that beauty fades, but financial security lasts forever. Her intelligence also showed in how she chose her roles. Stanwyck had this amazing ability to spot which scripts would become classics and which ones would flop. She turned down more bad movies than most actors ever get offered good ones. Number 5. William Powell. William Powell made being sophisticated look effortless in movies like the Thin Man series, but that sophistication was backed by genuine intelligence. Powell was incredibly well-educated and cultured, with interests that went far beyond acting. He was an art collector who had an eye for pieces that would increase in value, and he could discuss the technical aspects of painting and sculpture with museum curators. What really demonstrated Powell's smarts was his approach to comedy. Comedy is actually much harder than drama because timing and delivery have to be perfect. Powell understood this and studied comedy like a mathematician studies equations. He knew exactly when to pause, when to speed up, and how to make even the most ridiculous situations seem believable. Powell was also a master of improvisation. When scripts weren't working, he could come up with better lines on the spot. His co-star Myrna Loy often said that some of their best scenes in the Thin Man movies came from Powell's quick thinking and intelligence. Number 4. Katharine Hepburn. Katharine Hepburn came from a family that valued education and intelligence above everything else, and she lived up to those values throughout her career. Hepburn graduated from Bryn Mawr College with a degree in philosophy and history, and she continued to be a student her entire life. She was constantly reading, learning, and challenging herself intellectually. What made Hepburn special was her ability to choose roles that showcased intelligence as attractive. At a time when most actresses were playing dumb blondes or helpless victims, Hepburn insisted on playing smart, independent women. This wasn't just feminist activism, it was smart business, because she realized audiences were hungry for intelligent female characters. Hepburn was also incredibly strategic about her career. She understood that longevity in Hollywood required more than just beauty, so she focused on developing her craft and choosing projects that would establish her as a serious actress. Her intelligence helped her win 4 Academy Awards and maintain her career for over 60 years. Her personal relationships also showed her intelligence. She chose partners who could match her intellectually, like Spencer Tracy, and she had friendships with writers, directors, and intellectuals who kept her mind sharp. Number 3. James Stewart. James Stewart might have played the guy next door in movies, but in real life, he was incredibly accomplished. Stewart graduated from Princeton University with a degree in architecture, and his understanding of structure and design helped him approach acting roles with mathematical precision. What really showed Stewart's intelligence was his military service during World War II. Stewart had been an avid pilot long before the war, earning his civilian pilot's license in 1935 and obtaining a commercial pilot's license by 1938. At 32 years old, Stewart reported for duty as Private James Stewart in March 1941 at Fort MacArthur and was assigned to the Army Air Corps at Moffett Field. He became a bomber pilot and flew dangerous missions over Europe, eventually rising to the rank of Brigadier General. This wasn't just about bravery. It required incredible intelligence to navigate complex aircraft and lead other pilots in combat situations. Stewart's intelligence also showed in how he chose his post-war roles. He understood that audiences had changed after the war and wanted more complex, psychologically interesting characters. Movies like Vertigo and Rear Window showed Stewart's ability to portray intelligence and psychological complexity on screen. Number 2. Ronald Colman. Ronald Colman had one of the most distinctive voices in Hollywood history, but what made that voice so compelling was the intelligence behind it. Colman was incredibly well-read and cultured, with a deep understanding of literature, history, and philosophy that gave weight to everything he said. What made Colman truly special was his linguistic intelligence. He could master any accent or dialect required for a role, and he understood the subtle differences between social classes and regional variations in speech. This wasn't just mimicry, it was based on a deep understanding of how language reflects personality and background. Colman was also a shrewd businessman who understood the film industry better than most executives. He negotiated contracts that gave him creative control and profit participation long before those became standard practice. His intelligence helped him transition successfully from silent films to talkies when many other stars' careers ended. Number 1. Hedy Lamarr. When people hear the name Hedy Lamarr, they usually think of the glamorous actress who was called the most beautiful woman in the world. But Lamarr was also one of the most brilliant inventors of the 20th century, and her intelligence changed the world in ways most people never realize. On August 11, 1942, Hollywood actress Hedy Lamarr received a patent with composer George Antheil for a frequency-hopping spread-spectrum communication system designed to make radio-guided torpedoes harder to detect or jam. Here's the amazing part. The technology Lamarr invented became the foundation for Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and GPS. Every time you use your smartphone or connect to wireless internet, you're using technology that traces back to Hedy Lamarr's brilliant mind. In 2014, Lamarr was posthumously inducted into the National Inventors Hall of Fame for frequency-hopping spread-spectrum technology. What makes this even more impressive is that Lamarr had no formal scientific training. She was completely self-taught, learning about technology and engineering through pure curiosity and intelligence. She would spend her evenings studying technical manuals and experimenting with inventions, while during the day she was making movies and being treated like just another pretty face. Lamarr's intelligence went beyond just technical innovation. She understood that her beauty was both an asset and a limitation in how people perceived her abilities. She deliberately kept her inventing separate from her acting career because she knew people wouldn't take her seriously as a scientist if they only saw her as a glamorous actress. The tragedy is that Lamarr didn't receive proper recognition for her contributions until very late in her life. The technology industry was dominated by men who couldn't believe that a beautiful actress could also be a brilliant inventor. But Lamarr's legacy proves that intelligence comes in many forms and can be found in unexpected places. She wasn't just smart, she was revolutionary. She changed the world with her mind while also entertaining millions of people with her performances. That's the kind of intelligence that transforms entire industries.